Hello and welcome to a Project Cars 2 multiplayer video where today we are going to be starting from the very back of the grid in last position and seeing where we can end up by the end of the race. This is going to be a GTE class race around the Circuit of America's GP track, and as you can see I'm going to be starting from 25th position in the yellow Corvette C7R. So this is the setup that I am running here for this track. I think there's a few little tweaks here and there that I have made, but I can't quite remember them off the top of my head, as I believe I was using a setup that I had used on previous circuits as well. So the changes that I made for those other tracks was actually done quite a while ago. So yeah, apologies, I can't quite pinpoint out what changes that I had made exactly, but that was the setup nonetheless. But let's get on to the grid then, and this is going to be an 8-lap race. So we're starting from the back. We'll see where we can end up by the end. And we'll just quickly recenter the TrackIR before the green light, which is there. So launching off the line and getting a reasonable launch, really managing the traction quite well there. And it looks like we're immediately up 3 positions just from the launch off the line before we even get to turn 1. A few people braking quite early, so we'll nip down the inside of a few of those. There's a little bit of contact on the rear of the car, even more contact there as we got to the apex, but we managed to hold on to it and got away damage free as well. Got Ferrari here on the inside coming through turn 2 down the hill. Now we come into the S's section and you can see there's quite a big group of cars here in front of us, a few of them spinning off to the left and right hand sides of the circuit. So we'll pick up a few positions here and there, a few freebies, but we need to pick our way through the pack quite carefully as there's a few cars spinning off and rotating round. That's going to be a whole bunch more positions that we're going to make up as the Ferrari rejoining the circuit on the right hand side. Tried to give him room on the apex there, but he rejoined straight back onto the circuit and into the side of me. Just giving him a flash of the lights to say I'm not particularly best pleased with the way he rejoined the track there. But we'll nip round the outside of him before we get to the hairpin that leads onto the long back straight. And we can see as we were coming into the apex a whole bunch of guys in front of us squabbling and battling hard over the positions. Little bits of contact here and there, a couple of cars being forced out wide, but just about, I think, maybe able to get a little bit of slipstream off this Corvette in front. There's a whole bunch of cars very close in front of them as we're going 3 wide up in front, so we're going to play it relatively safe as there's a bit of contact there. Oh, that's a car warping around as well, and that is a whole bunch of positions that we have just gained. We're already up into 6th position here on this opening lap, and we haven't even got to the end of it yet. So we're now up onto the back of this Corvette and also a yellow F.O.O.L GT as well. Just taking a nice smooth line there through the left-handed hairpin before we get to the long triple right-hander that is here. Just catching a little bit of oversteer as we're coming through the apex. But this opening lap has been very, very fruitful for us as the Corvette going and loses the rear end of the car a little bit. That's another freebie position that we didn't really have to work hard to obtain. So we're now up into P5 as we come to the end of the first lap now, and our eyes are focused on that F.O.O.L GT up in front of us. Corvette isn't too far behind, so we'll need to keep a little bit of an eye on him coming into the braking zone here, but he's not close enough to go for the lunge. The F.O.O.L goes a little bit deep though, so we may be able to pull up alongside him on the exit, but we're going to be on the outside for turn 2, which is going to be difficult to go all the way around the outside there, and indeed he's just about managed to nose ahead, so we'll slot him behind him as we come through the S's section now. Just taking it relatively smooth and easy, just riding the curbs in as gentle fashion as we possibly can, because they do unsettle the car a fair amount. And I've got the Corvette all over the rear of my car as well. He's gone for a little bit of a lunge down the inside here. Tried to give him the room, but it's not really an overtaking place unless you can really get up alongside. And I was obviously very much just kind of following the Ford, really kind of having to go to his speeds rather than trying to make moves myself. I was more trying to wait for this back straight here to focus on trying to get a good run coming off the exit of the previous corner, but obviously with the Corvette making contact with the side of me a couple of corners prior to that, did knock me a couple of car lengths off the back of this Ford. But we're having a little bit of a look to the inside here coming into this hairpin. Bit of a lock up on the inside, but we've managed to sneak down the inside of the Ford, who ended up running a little bit deep. So we're now up into 4th position coming in towards the end of lap 2, and we've got a couple of cars up in front of us as well, 2nd and 3rd battling over the podium spots there, and it seems like the race leader is out about 6 seconds up the head of myself, which, considering starting from the very back of the grid, isn't too bad and puts us in a pretty good position to try and close up on that gap throughout the duration of the race. And you can see after the last few corners here at the final part of the lap, I've managed to gain a whole load of time already. So seeing that, I'm feeling quite confident in actually being able to catch up with the race leader and potentially trying to get myself up into that first position. But obviously we've got to get past third and second position, who are here in front of us, both of them in the F.O.O.L GT as well. Now we've got a bit of clear air coming into the ESA section, so we want to try and be smooth here, although it caught the curb a little bit upon the entry, which did unsettle the car slightly there again, going through that left-hander, through the long right-hander of turn 5, and we managed to gain a whole load of ground on this F.O.O.L GT here in front, having a little bit of a look to the inside, but then thinking better of it, because that Ford was just going to end up swiping across the front of my nose and probably would have ended up spinning me round. But we've got a pretty good run on him coming down to the hairpin here, leading onto the back straight, but instead of going for the move, just going to sit patient and wait for the exit instead, and try and get the slipstream coming off the corner to get very, very close to the rear of his car, glancing over to see where he is alongside, and it looks like we're just about managing to eke our nose ahead with the V8 that is burbling away underneath the hood at the front of the Corvette. Coming into the braking zone now. I just need to get on the brakes a little bit later than him, nail the apex and get a good run coming off the corner, and that is third position handed to us. Pretty textbook move, to be fair, and we're now pressurising, or trying to, the Ford in second place up ahead. We've also got a back marker here, which looks like the M6 that we passed launching off the line at the beginning of the race. So now we come into the long triple right-hander once again. This time much smoother, going through, just being patient with the throttle, trying to get the line right through there before setting ourselves up for the penultimate turn, which is quite a tricky and deceptive corner. It's a tough one to get through as P2 gives the back marker a flash of the lights, goes a little bit deep trying to go down the inside, coming into the second to last corner. Now the M6 moves over to the left hand side to let us go on through, but it looks like that he is just hanging there for the moment, judging by the lights, getting very close to the back of the Ford under braking. Coming into the apex once again, he's gone a little bit deep on the exit. Going to have to stay fairly tight ourselves to avoid going into the back of him, or into the side of him, shall I say. And once again, we're pressuring him coming into the ESA section, but we're going to slot in behind again for now and just follow him on through. Just try and get the better line. It looks like we're doing, trying to open up a couple more of the corners for some nice sweeping bends, and despite the battling that we're doing here with P2, we are still closing up on the race leader. We've got a much better run there coming out the exit of the ESA section than the Ford, so we're looking to the outside, but he nursed me off the circuit going through the left-handed kink, so slot in behind once again, but he's got very defensive there coming into the corner that leads onto the back straight, very tight, and he's gone and spun it as well coming out the exit, trying to get hard on the power. He was going deep there, and unless he was very careful on the throttle, he probably would have struggled to get the drive off the corner that he would have needed to defend to me. So that's us now up into P2, and with a nice healthy gap behind us, we can focus on the race lead, and we're at the halfway point in this race as well. Completed 4.5 laps, 4.5 laps remaining. So we're in a pretty good spot. It's been a very action-packed race so far, dodging and weaving between cars, especially all the chaos that was there on the opening lap. But things are looking pretty good for us to potentially try and take the race win here. Just need to keep consistently putting in decent lap times, close that gap up to the leader, and then try and find a way past at some point, as we're right on the limit, actually in fact over the limit coming into the penultimate corner. We got the slowdown warning, but managed to clear that before the final turn, just as we were going into the apex. So now we're free once again to try and push on, close up on the race leader, who is also in another F.O.O.L GT. It's a very popular car here in the GTE class, as it is a very good all-rounder, and this Corvette is also very quick, but Corvette's naturally aspirated. The 4 GT comes with a turbo, so it has the advantage at tracks at higher altitude, as it won't lose power, but he's gone and lost a whole load of speed and momentum there with that spin, and that's gone and gifted us the race lead. Didn't really have to fight for that one. So on lap 5 we managed to get ourselves up into P1. Now it's just a case of holding on to it ourselves for the remaining laps, taking it to see that checkered flag. And you can see the pace that I have, comparing the previous fastest lap split, that delta there at the top centre of the screen, 2 seconds up coming onto the back straight. It's just all the time that has been gained going through the ESSA section without a car in front, and able to run at my own pace. And apologies about the grey box that's there on the left hand side. That is the lobby chat, but where I'm playing in a 21:9 aspect ratio but recording in a 16:9 aspect ratio, it is the chat is cut off on the side of the screen, as I'm not able to move that as we pass the back marker and then come into the hairpin here, and the back marker's just gone and ploughed straight into the side and rear of my car. We have got an awful lot of damage, and he's rather annoyingly gone and parked immediately here in front of us. Try and squeeze my way around him somehow or another, which we do manage to do, rejoining back onto the circuit into 4th position as well. So that's gone and cost us the race lead. We've got a whole bunch of damage, as we can see indicated up in the top right, and as you can tell by how the car is starting to drive coming through the long triple right-hander. So we've got 6 aero damage at the front and 100% aero damage at the rear, so I'm going to have no grip through the medium and high-speed corners. And then I've also got 17 suspension damage on the left rear as well, which is going to put the steering alignment slightly out of whack and isn't going to help as I'll be crabbing slightly down the straights. It's not too bad though, as you can see. It's just about manageable, but I'm going to start losing time to the other guys up in front now, who have obviously gone past in that incident. And the guy who did hit me just trying to basically troll me in the chat, but just ignored him, as one of the guys in front has gone and spun off to the right hand side of the circuit. We're just about managing to hold on to our own car coming through the ESSA section. Quite a bit of oversteer there coming through the long right hander. Just about managing to hold on to the car though. We've got the best part of 2.5 laps remaining. Maybe a little bit more. Well, in fact it is a little bit more. But yeah, obviously the back marker, intent on being malicious and just wanting to ruin other people's races. He was asking in the chat, how does that feel? And well, didn't really bother me too much, as it's kind of made the videos a little bit more interesting. But at the time I just ended up feeling sorry for him. The fact that he had to be so sad and stoop so low just to ruin other people's races for his own entertainment. I mean, it kind of says a lot about his ability and also his attitude. I mean, he probably got caught up in the melee at the start, but it's no excuse for ditching racing etiquette and trying to be a dick and trying to be a troll and ruin other people's races. But either way, I'm still kind of sat relatively happy here in P3 despite all the damage, managing to hold on and potentially get a somewhat decent result. I just need to keep the car facing in the right direction as it's sliding around, as you can see, all over the place at the rear end, and P4 is actually closing up onto the back of us as well. So once again the rear end stepping out, coming through the penultimate turn, and here he comes having a look to the inside in the last corner, but he was coming from so far back that I just took my usual line and slammed the door shut on him. But coming down the start finish straight here, he's going to have the run on me, and indeed he is looking to the inside, slower in a straight line because of that damage. But I'm going to try and hold it around the outside here and go for the switchback and see if we can hold on to that P3. And it looks like we just about managed to pull that off quite nicely, able to get to the apex for turn 2 to retake that position. He's having a look to the outside coming into the S's, but I've moved slightly over just to cover him off there, and he's gone and spun as well off behind us. So that's gone and opened up another nice gap, as once again the rear end is trying to break away from me. But I'm doing my absolute best to hold on to that. I'm trying to hold on to this P3 despite all the damage. Coming out of the SS section now, car moving around a little bit, as you can see. Obviously not going to have the pace to be able to close up onto P1 and 2 again with this damage that I've got, but I don't want to dive into the pit lane to get it repaired either, because I'm just going to end up losing a whole bunch of positions, a whole bunch of time, and I'm intrigued to see as to where it can actually end up finishing in the race. You can see the amount of time that we're losing on the straight to the fastest lap delta. Car wanting to break away, under braking there. Just about managing to hold on to it. It's a little bit more difficult to get through the right-handed corners. Left-handers, it's relatively easy. The car just kind of wants to naturally rotate in that direction. Just trying to manage that oversteer. It's alright up on the entry and the middle of the corner. It's more towards the middle and exit that the car's really wanting to step out. It's mainly when I'm getting on the power, essentially. It's all because of that damage at the rear with very little downforce. You can see P1 and 2 at the top of the hill up ahead, battling away for position, and I think they've just swapped places as well in and around the apex. But we're on to the final lap. We've got ourselves a gap of about 10 to 12 seconds to P4 behind, so providing we don't have any spins ourselves, should be able to hold on to this final podium spot. Just need to take it nice and smooth and steady coming through the S section here, not really troubling the curbs too much. As you can see, the car will start to move around a little bit. Kind of almost snapped on me there as P2 has gone and had a spin somewhere along the line and lost a whole bunch of time, as he's now only just a couple of seconds up the road. But I'm not going to have the pace to be able to close that gap down unless he has another spin himself. Still got a good half the lap to go though, so anything is kind of possible in that time. Accelerating as hard as I can out of that turn to get onto this back straight here. Try and carry as much speed as we possibly can before we get to the left-handed hairpin. Looking for our braking point about 120, 130 meters before the corner, shifting down into first gear. Looking up the apex quite nicely. Now we're obviously into the stadium section. Car just wanted to rotate a little bit as we were getting on the power. Now into the left-hander, where all the damage was done a few laps ago, and into the long right-hander for the last time. We just need to hold on to this, as again the car is trying to oversteer quite heavily on me. We're managing to hold on to that. Now we come into the penultimate turn. It's just another one of those corners where the car tries to break away. The final corner is not too bad, so just got one to go, although the car was trying to step out under braking. But here we come, final lap, coming across the start-finish line, starting from 25th position and managing to get up into third place. Probably could have been the race win if it wasn't for that infamous back marker. But either way, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Obviously consider subscribing to the channel for more content in the future. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I shall catch you in the next video. But until then, have fun, stay safe, and take care.